Okay, 9 o'clock, we will begin. Appreciate you being here. That everybody could find our new location for this meeting, and hope that didn't cause any problems people getting here. I think maybe parking is easier here than it is downtown, so that's a help. You'll notice we've got a new student member at the table here, and Kevin, if you could introduce your assistant here.
Yes, so
your supervisor.
well, it might be my successor the way things are going, but Casey Close is the student commissioner of education for the youth legislature, and so I don't know how many of you all are familiar with the whole youth legislature program, but the YMCA runs it, and it's a great program, it's a great opportunity for high school students to come in and get engaged in the legislative process, and then over time, people start to assume leadership roles. And so Casey is a senior at Ensworth, and somehow got drafted into being the commissioner of education as her duties, and so she's the youth me for this process, and we're very excited to have her. She'll be spending the day with us in the Department of Education.
Great. Casey, good to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We also need to recognize our official student member for the board. Katie has been with us this year. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you, your mom, and certainly enjoyed having you on the board. Maybe you could tell us, she tells me she's counting down the hours, minutes, so forth to graduation, but your plans for this summer and then school next year?
I'm going to go on a trip with my friends and work around Memphis, and then I plan on attending University of Tennessee at Knoxville.
Great. Well, it's been a real privilege having you, getting to know you. I'll mention that, as I do with other board members, that you're not officially off this board until you're replaced, and sometimes replacements don't occur instantaneously. You're second year. You're certainly welcome to come back, and we'll probably be asking you to come back some until we can get a student member as a replacement. So we appreciate it. We've got a gift here for you to recognize your service on this board and your group. Okay, we'll now move to our consent agenda. Adoption of the agenda and approval of the minutes of the January 31st meeting. Is there a motion we approve the consent agenda? A second? Any discussion or questions concerning the consent agenda? If none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, we'll move to the report items, and we've got some real pleasant recognitions that need to be made here. And Mike, are you going to introduce?
I think Bing Hell from our team is going to do the honor.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
So, as Commissioner shared, my name is Bing Howell. I'm the Director for the Office of School Improvement, and, as shared, one of the great things we get to do today is really thank some of the folks who've been doing some really great work across the great state of Tennessee. We have the honor of recognizing the National Blue Ribbon Schools as well as the Distinguished Title I Schools. Now, every year, the U.S. Department of Education works with states to identify schools that are achieving at the absolute echelon of achievement for the entire state, as well as schools that are working with low-income students and seeing some really great student achievement. Of the hundreds of schools in Tennessee, there were 5 that rose to the absolute top. And we're here today to celebrate their amazing achievement as they represent some of the best of what's going on in education in the state of Tennessee. So I would like to ask the representatives for the schools that are with us today to stand up. Over here, all right. School leaders, every day you all prove that communities, when engaged in the learning process, can be valuable extensions of the teacher's team. You prove that data, when used in a meaningful way, can help identify how to improve student learning. And you prove that when every adult in a school, from principals to teachers, are meaningfully engaged and bought into the idea that every student can learn, you prove that there is very little, if anything, that Tennessee youth can't achieve. Can we please give them a round of applause? Now, with that being said, I'd actually like to ask Commissioner Huffman to come to the front for the more formal award portion of the ceremony. And the way it's going to work is, as I name off the school as well as the school leader, if that person can come to the front for Commissioner Huffman to provide you with a plaque to commemorate the event, as well as a certificate from Governor Haslam's office, he'll provide this to you. You can shake his hand. If there are any other school leaders from your team that have come with you as well, they can come to the front, where Ashley will be taking a picture of you all. After this event, we'll be able to share this photo with you all as well. And after that photo is done, if you can return back to your seat, and we will be applauding you and pulling in the next school leader. So with that being said, we are going to start off with the Blue Ribbon schools. So the first school is McFadden School of Excellence from Rutherford County Schools. And can Principal Dr. Clark Blair come up to receive the award? Over here works with the flag.
Congratulations. You got
Congratulations. The second school on the list is representing Metro Nashville Public Schools, and that is Meg's Middle Magnet School, and the instructional coach, Rebecca Searfrost, is here to represent. And last but not least, the last school is Thomas Magnet School from Bedford County Schools, and their principal, Mrs. Janice Womble, is here to represent. All right, now we're going to hop over to the Title I Distinguished Schools. The first school is John P. Freeman Optional Schools out of Memphis, Shelby County Schools, and the principal, Monica Smith, is here to represent. And last but not least, from Germanshire Elementary School at Shelby County Schools as well, Principal Mike Collins. School leaders, thank you again for the work that you and your staff are doing with Tennessee students on a daily basis. You're proving the possible, that every Tennessee student can achieve at great levels. May you continue to be a guiding light for how we engage our students, families, teachers, and communities across the state. Now, this concludes the formal recognition portion of the ceremony. I'm very aware that some of these principals actually do need to make their way back to the schools, and so they actually might be departing, and some I've invited them to stay if they can actually make that time. But thank you, everybody, for being here today.
Certainly appreciate the schools being here. Certainly appreciate your results, your recognition. One of the things that I want to encourage you to do is to share the good things you're doing with other educators. I think too often we don't share good practice in the education community, and certainly would encourage you to be open to share those and take the initiative and share the good things you're doing, the good results you've achieved with other educators. So we certainly want to congratulate you, and let's give them all another round of applause. questions that board members have for any of the honorees? Any questions here?
I'd just like to make a comment. I want to echo everything you said, Mr. Chairman, about just the hard work of principals and teachers in just dramatically accelerating academic achievement. And I just want to have a shout out to my Shelby County folks back here that despite a major transition in Memphis and a merger, a demerger, they kept their eye on the ball and have dramatically worked to close the achievement gap. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of me and my superintendent in Memphis.
Thank you, Teresa. Okay, any others?
I could do a shout out for Rutherford County. And I'm very proud of it, that, you know, that they do. Not to be. Right here in Metro. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your achievement and continue the good work. And Medford is right next door to Rutherford.
Fielding up, I would just say, and I know these principals know this, but, you know, Tennessee is improving faster than any other state in the country, and we have 1,800 schools, and so to be selected from among a large group of schools that are all improving at a fast rate is a pretty impressive accomplishment, so congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to report item C, which is the occupational endorsement addition to the endorsement list. And Heather?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Board. So this item is actually just to literally add these 4 endorsements to our endorsement list so that we can actually start having teachers put these endorsements onto their license. So you've seen these employment standards before. It's literally just adding these numbers to that endorsement list so that we can allow teachers to apply for these endorsements.
And no action is required on this. Any questions? Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. We'll now move to the action items on first reading. And let's take items A and B together, a uniform grading policy and rule. Gary, you will please.
Well, this comes to you as a result of the performance audit that was conducted with TSAC this past year. And in part of the audit, they looked at the way the grades were calculated in determining the Hope Scholarship Award. And we rolled this out in 2004. At that time, we had a lot of presentations, a lot of guidance, FAQs, and so forth, and folks understood. We felt confident. Well, in the last 10 years, a lot of folks have changed. So in the audit, they found a big variation in the way everything was being calculated. So the recommendation was for us to tighten it up, give concrete examples of exactly how it's to be calculated. And we've checked with the department, and they can monitor the calculations when they do the system audits. That way, I'm checking on it, make sure it's being done. So it's just an effort to tighten up and to make uniform the way the GPA is calculated in the award of the Hope Scholarship. The only substantive addition to the policy is the addition of a weight for the statewide dual credit courses that the department is developing and implementing now. And it allows for the addition of 4 points to the grade to weight that and incentive. Other than that, it's just simply clarified. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Gary?
Not so much a question, but really we want to thank Gary and David for really getting on this, because this was an audit finding in TSAC's performance audit. So, and good job tightening things up.
Okay.
One question about who manages the ongoing monitoring to make sure they're implementing according to the policy and the rules?
Currently, I think the person who leads that is Mr. Chris Steppe, and I talked with Dr. Earhart last night, and then I talked to Chris, and having this kind of directive would give him something to measure it against. So as they do those system audits, they can check on it.
Okay. Other questions, comments? Okay, is there a motion we approve both A and B, items 3A and B, uniform grading policy? So got a motion, second? Got a second? Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now move to item C, Joey, occupational diploma rule.
Good morning. This is a result of Public Chapter 422 requiring the State Board to approve requirements around an occupational diploma for students with disabilities. So this is a new subsection within that rule. The requirements for a current special education diploma, a student has not met the requirements for a high school diploma. They have satisfactorily completed the IEP, and they have satisfactory record of attendance. The addition for the occupational diploma that you will approve on first reading today is the students will have completed the occupational diploma skills, knowledge, and experience mastery assessments, which we will create within our department. And also, a student would not be considered for this to the end of the 10th grade year and complete some work experience prior. Of course, the students with disability can stay in school until they turn age 22. That's required through IDE.
Okay, questions for Joey? Okay, for those of you in the audience, we spent a fair amount of time in the workshop yesterday reviewing a little more detail the actual rule that we're talking about here, and we're able to sort of get comfortable with it. Any questions or, yeah, Ronnie?
Just a comment, I really appreciate the work you all have done on this. Thank you very much. I've involved businesses, those type of things. I think this is really good work. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great team that's led this work.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve on first reading?
So moved.
Got a motion, second?
Second.
Got a second. Okay, any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Joey, appreciate it, good work. We will now move to item 3D, Category 2, non-public school accrediting agencies, and Marcy.
Good morning. My name is Marcy Tidwell. As you all know, many years ago, the State Board of Education created a process for the approval of non-public school accrediting agencies. The period of approval for that would last 5 years. The current year approval ends at the end of this current school year, 2013-14. So in April of 2013, correspondence was sent to all existing accreditation agencies as well as prospective agencies. Within that correspondence was the application that would be required, as well as the requirements for a school site visit that would be implemented as part of this application approval. Applicants were given the deadline of September 15th to submit all necessary documentation for the hard copy paper application. I had 10 applications received. Of those, 8 were already existing accreditation agencies. One of the existing accreditation agencies decided not to reapply. That was Harding Academy of Memphis. They decided not to reapply because all of their schools are currently accredited by Advanced Ed, so they no longer felt that it was necessary. And then we had 2 new applicants apply for this round, but we received 10 in all. The applications were reviewed during the months of September through December of 2013. And during that review process, each of the applicants were asked to submit additional documentation. If there was anything in the application that was somewhat misaligned with what State Board rules requires of Category 2, then what I asked them to do was either resubmit an amended application or an addendum that could be attached to their application. And all of the agencies complied with that request. School site visits were scheduled for the month of January 2014, and Ms. Danelle Walker and Ms. Joanna Collins accompanied me on the school site visits for the accreditation agencies. Each of the agencies were given in advance a school site visit checklist, which I believe you may have a copy of, which basically just outlined the items we would expect to see at the school visit. In one of the school visits, and that was at Harbert Hills Academy in Savannah, Tennessee, we did notice a couple of discrepancies with State Board rules and then also what was written in E.A. Sutherland's application.
You also have a copy of a letter that was sent to EA Sutherland regarding those discrepancies that we noted. One of the discrepancies that we saw was we could not determine that schools were scheduled for a period of 180 days, which is required of accredited Category 2 schools. We were provided, upon the visit, we were provided a calendar of scheduled days, but it was just really difficult to determine because it was a color-coded calendar of each month from August to May, and we couldn't really tell which days were instructional days. So we couldn't tell from that calendar. We weren't provided a 200-day accountability calendar. But then in looking at student records, we saw that within the student records, there was some clear evidence, or what was in the records was clear evidence that the students were not scheduled for 180 days. So we decided that that just wasn't happening at the school at that time. Another area of concern that was raised was the 6.5-hour day, which is required of Category 2 accredited schools. Harbert Hills had given us a copy of a schedule, a daily schedule of classes, and within that schedule, we could tell that freshmen and sophomores were scheduled for the first block of the day in an amount of what appeared to be 4 hours and 15 minutes, and seniors and juniors were scheduled the second block, which what appeared to be, I think, 5 hours and a half or something like that, but less than the 6.5 hours. So we noted that within our site visit as well. And then the last thing that was an area of concern to us during our site visit was the number of scheduled hours that students were scheduled during the normal, typical school week, Monday through Friday. We didn't look at the weekend schedule. We were really just looking at the Monday through Friday schedule, and we noticed that some of the students at Harbert Hills were scheduled as much as 7 hours per day to work. Within EA Sutherland's application, there was some policies within their applications which said that they would not schedule students for more than 4 hours of work per day. So that just kind of went back against their own application that they had submitted. So it just raised some concerns for us there. So we noted those 3 items, and after all of the application evidence and looking through all of the documentation we received, we are recommending the approval of the 9 agencies you have listed in your information, and we are recommending the denial of the EA Sutherland Educational Association as Category 2 non-public school accrediting agency.
Okay, questions for Marcy? Any questions concerning? Danielle, anything to add?
No, but we do have representatives from EA Sutherland.
Okay, any questions for Marcy or Danielle?
I just wanted to ask exactly where is this school?
It's in Savannah, Tennessee.
Savannah. Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Okay, I understand the representative of EA Sutherland is here, and we wanted to speak quickly. Okay.
Hi there. Thank you for your time today. My name is Alex Scarborough. I'm counsel for EA Sutherland, or ESA, as we refer to it. I also with me Steve Dickman, who's the president of Harbert Hills, and Wanda Starr, who is the director of education for ESA overall. It's 9 schools, 7 in Tennessee. So I'm just going to speak directly to those 3 points from the legal perspective. You also have a handout with 8 attachments that's been handed to you that explains more in detail a response to Ms. Tidwell's recommendation. So I'm going to talk briefly and then yield time to them if you have any questions specifically about ESA or Harbert Hills. As to the first question, as to the 6.5 hours. In Ms. Tidwell's letter, she refers to direct instruction time. Tennessee law requires 6.5 hours of instructional time. There's no reference to direct instruction, just instructional time. Harbert Hills and all of the ESA schools well meet and exceed the 6.5 hour time. That includes academic classes, vocational instruction, orchestra, chapel time, and a teacher-led study hall, which is not just a sit in a classroom and we'll babysit you. It's very engaging. It's almost like one-on-one tutoring. And just to explain, because I know this is a different model that most people aren't used to seeing, the vocational time is not just send you out into a field, do some work, and tell me when you're done. It's hands-on instruction, there's assessment and feedback. It is very much so instructional time. It's not work, it is instruction through both academics and through vocational training. So that's in response to 6.5 hours. And you have some additional attachments and information in the handout you've been given that speaks to that. As to the second point, the 180 days. That is due to ambiguity in the student schedule that Ms. Tedwell and the other reviewers looked at when they were at Harbert Hills. And we certainly understand that the schedule that was handed to them was ambiguous, but the software that generates the student schedule is not the same as the administrative software that the administrators at the school do when they're calculating the 180 days. And I believe if you look at attachment 8 to your handout, you'll see that Harbert Hills Academy meets that minimum 180 days, at least if not exceeds it. They have more than 6.5-hour school days. It's actually a residential program, so rather than school ending at 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon, they'll have a break time during the day, but educational programming and instructional time continues until about 8 at night. So again, that's not just a schedule during the day. You have to look at it holistically because it's a residential program, so students are receiving instructional time, not just in the traditional time frame of the day that you might typically look at it for, say, a public school when a student's there. As to the third point, looking at students participating in a vocational program for more than 4 hours per day. The couple of student schedules that were reviewed that indicated a day or 2 weeks that was more than 4 hours are very abnormal and are not the norm. So Harbert Hills also offers an option for a vocational diploma. Students have to meet a minimum number of hours for the vocational diploma. I think 1 or 2 of the students at the school that year, which were some of the schedules reviewed, were working to get their minimum hours, so they had all their instruction time, they had all of their academic credits, but they were working to make a couple more hours required to get that vocational diploma in lieu of an academic diploma. So those student schedules indicated a longer vocational instruction time, 1 or 2 days a week. Again, that's not the normal schedule, that was abnormal. ESA has a rich tradition of educating students in the state of Tennessee. They have 7 schools here. They've been approved for Level 2 accreditation both in 2002 and 2008. They're doing a fantastic job of educating students around the state. Again, the vocational instructional time may seem a little abnormal to a lot of individuals, but there's great testimony from students and parents and individuals who've been through the program. Mr. Dickman, who's with me, was a student at the school that he's now president of and has been president of for 20 years. And they're reaching wonderful academic results. So I just request that you reconsider this application and relook at it and look that at the same, they're still providing a strong education as they were in 2002 and in 2008 to students in the state of Tennessee. I now yield my time to any questions that you may have for me or to Steve and Wanda.
Okay, questions, board members? Questions? One question I have is, how do you measure academic results?
Well, they have academic programming, so that's measured in the typical way that you would measure grading and academic programming. And for the vocational training, there's assessment and feedback. And Steve, would you like to speak a little more closely to the assessment process for the vocational instruction?
Students are involved in the vocational training program receive a monthly evaluation. And as part of that evaluation, it's feedback to them on how they're doing, and it's done, like I said, on a monthly basis for each student, so the students and the parents know the progress that they're making in each of those areas in which they are serving during that tenure during the month.
Okay, Gerald?
What vocational programs are you addressing?
We have a variety of, on our campus, we have a 49-bed intermediate care nursing home. We just recently added an adult daycare facility to that. We have a farm, and a bakery, we have a radio station, and those are the practical training areas. We teach the certified nurse assistant class to our students, and their training ground is in the nursing home. So they have the classroom activities, providing them with the ability to go and take the state certified nurse assistant program exam. and to pass that, and then they get practical experience in our nursing home. We have students who graduate from our program who go on to nursing school, and the nursing schools are saying, surely you can't tell me that you have already a couple of years of experience. And they say, yes, we do. We're certified nurse assistants. We have 2 years of experience. They're accepted in nursing schools readily and do excellent work and prove themselves at the top of the class most of the time.
What are the other programs inside the CNA program?
Well, we have an auto mechanics program, we have a woodworking program, we have digital photography, we have radio broadcasting. So we have a whole variety and range of programs. Actually, the standards for the that ESAE developed and coordinated and crosswalked with the state of Tennessee, most of our classes are more than 80%, those standards are more than 80% in agreement with the state of Tennessee standards and are approved by the state of Tennessee for transfer credit to any other school.
Are these students receiving a high school diploma?
Yes, they are.
You said it was a vocational diploma.
Well, we have 3 levels of diplomas. We have the college prep diploma, the general diploma, and the vocational diploma.
Okay.
I just wanted to, and Marcy jumped in if I'm saying this wrong, but I wanted to clarify what the issue is and what we're discussing. This ultimately isn't a commentary on the quality of the school. We have Category 3 and Category 4 schools in Tennessee that are outstanding schools, wonderful places where people love sending their kids. What this is about our ability to rely on an accrediting agency, because we, in determining whether schools are Category 1, 2, 3, or 4, ultimately have to rely on outside accrediting agencies given our own staff limitations. We don't have a giant staff that goes around surveying private schools. And so I just want to be clear that for us, this isn't a question of whether the school itself is a good school or even a great school. It's a question of whether the accrediting agency, we can rely on them so that we do not have to staff up to do work in lieu of what the accrediting agency would be doing. So that's just to clarify that.
Right. Thank you. Okay. Other questions?
And Commissioner Huffman, just to respond to you, we have discussed that, and it's very important to ESA to maintain that level 2 accreditation that they received in 2008 and 2002. ESA internally has very high standards, and they really value being able to provide that and partner with Tennessee and demonstrating that they're providing this strong education through good schools, but also what's demonstrated through the level 2 accreditation. So that has been discussed, and it is very important to ESA that they maintain that level 2 accreditation, which is why we're providing supplemental information to you today and here to answer any questions that you might have remaining.
I would like to speak just from the standpoint of a school, because I serve as vice president for the ESAE organization as well as president of the Harvard Hills Academy. Over the years, ESAE has been a huge value to our school. They've really helped us to improve, and seeking level 2 status with the state of Tennessee has been a blessing to us in many ways. Wanda comes on our campus, and others that have served in her position and conduct teacher-in services and do hold us accountable. And I understand there's some things here that need to be addressed, and we're certainly willing and ready to address those things and make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable. We do value this, and we, from a standpoint of a school, we think it's very important for us in the state of Tennessee to have that ability to say to other schools that we are holding to the same standards that other schools are.
Marcy, anything that you'd like to add? Anything we've not addressed here?
One thing I failed to mention, which wasn't,
One thing I failed to mention, which actually wasn't a reason that we did not approve ESAE's application and site visit, but it was an area of concern somewhat for us, was that the student body at Harvard Hills is mostly comprised of students who are from other countries, all around the world. I think we were told, if I have this correct, they have about 55 students, and about 5 of them are from some area in the United States. And then in looking in the student files, the students were here on work visas, which caused us some concern as to why they weren't here on student visas, if that's the real focus of the school. So that was another area that kind of puzzled us. There's nothing in our state board rules that would say there's anything really wrong with that, but again, it just made us concerned about the area of focus at the school and whether it's really a school for academics or for work. So again, that was the only other thing I kind of wanted to add to that.
Okay, thank you, Marcy.
If possible, I'd like to respond to that. It is true, we do have a very international population at our school. We have students from about 14 countries, and we have about 60 students. And so you can see it's a broad range program. Most of those students come, their parents hear about the program through word of mouth, through other students. A number of years ago, we had hardly any foreign students, but they've heard about the program. And I'm not sure exactly what student file they may have looked at, but I'll believe that I can safely say that all of our students are on student visa. We are approved by the SBE organization to issue student visas, and if there's an anomaly in that, I'm not aware of it. And so we are operating a program that is academic in nature. These students are taking biology, chemistry, calculus, algebra, all of the standard academic subjects, and the purpose of the program is to give a well-balanced program. And so, you know, you could look at it one time a day or one time a week and say, well, it looks like it's balanced this way, but if you come and look at it another time a week, it would look like it was balanced another way, because the objective is that when a student finishes, they're well equipped to go out and actually have skills to face the world and to be members of society in a very positive and productive way.
Okay. Any questions being in?
Well, okay, so when you do this, become and you evaluate the school, then, do you have a period where you can rev up what they've said, you know, to make right what you found wrong, or
this is a first reading item, so you all do have the option to request that they get materials in order to meet state board standards, so that is an option for you.
I think that's probably certainly one avenue to proceed to approve the recommendations on first reading here, and before the second reading, have an opportunity to further review. You know, we've got a big piece of material here. We certainly can review that before going to second reading. I would certainly like to see the difference in whether they're here on student visas or work visas. That cleared up some other things. So I think one option here would be to approve the recommendations as presented on first reading, and then and get those questions answered prior to their second reading. It'd be at the next meeting. Any other comments? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, and the motion would be to approve the recommendation on first reading with the understanding that we're going to get additional material prior to the second reading. Is there a second to Carolyn's motion? Got a second. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Marcy, we'll expect you to get the questions answered, and we'll get additional material that we can review prior to the next meeting. Okay, we'll now move to item E3E, which is advanced placement course update, board policy. And Emily, you go.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. This item updates the board policy 3.205. It's the approved high school course list. And essentially, this makes the list of approved schools reflect updates on the current course offerings for advanced placement courses that are approved by the College Board. So some are new courses, some are retired, some we've updated the course titles to reflect the actual course titles. There's also, I just want to point out, the footnotes are also updated to reflect the CTE submission from January 2014.
Okay.
And the department recommends approval on first reading. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve on first
So
reading?
moved.
Got a motion and a second?
Second.
Got a second? Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, appreciate it. Next item is, science, technology, STEM, course standards, Danielle?
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman and Board. Pleasure to be with you this morning. These two courses are two STEM courses from Project Lead the Way. These two courses are actually inadvertently left off the January courses that were submitted, so we're just putting them into the mix. These will be for 2014-15 school year as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, questions? Just one question, actually, it looked great. Who all worked on putting these standards together? What does your team consist of?
So Project Lead the Way, these two STEM courses, which are Project Lead the Way courses, are essentially a third-party vendor. They're similar to how College Board handles your advanced placement courses. The other STEM courses, which you actually have as your final reading, those courses were developed here in-house. We have a set of consultants who helped to craft those, so that was an in-house work. But all in all, they're fabulous standards across the board.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve on first reading?
So moved.
Got a motion, second? Got a second, okay. Any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you.
Okay, substitute teacher compensation. Danielle?
This is language that we discovered through a call that there was a rule outdated, and so we're cleaning up the rule. The current rule says that in order to have substitute teacher compensation, you apply to the commissioner. He compensates you for the money that you spend to hire substitutes, but actually, in actuality, what happens is the BEP formula generates money to be used for substitutes. So this rule is outdated. We're just trying to clean it up.
Okay. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, second? Okay, any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Dan. Okay, we'll now move to the action items on final reading. A special course is offered for 3 or more years.
Good morning. An LEA can request approval to offer a course that is not on the list of approved courses through a special course application. These courses must be approved by the department for each of the first 3 years, and then after 3 years, a course may become a permanent part of that local school's course program. This is a second read, and these courses have been submitted to the department, reviewed by content experts, and met academic criteria.
Okay, so on second reading, no changes from the first reading. Any questions?
I just want to confirm, after that third year, moving into the fourth year, is that just automatic, or do they have to come back to the department? How does that process work?
It becomes automatic for that district. It's not added to the compendium of courses for other districts, but it prevents that district from having to come back every year to get the approval. Great, thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a second?
Second.
Second. Any questions? Okay, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you. And you're still up.
I'll be here for a few more. In July of 2013, the State Board approved a new set of social studies standards. The list of high school courses needs to be updated to reflect the changes to titles to align with the new standards. And this also includes information about approved substitutions. After a first read, University of Tennessee did complete a review of these courses and approved them for admissions. We have not heard back from TBR. They seem to be in the process of that final review, but they have been approved by UT.
Okay, any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a motion, second?
Second.
a second? Okay, good. Okay, any questions? No, basically, okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item C.
This is the final read for the approval of new standards for the further high school courses. This board has already approved updated standards for Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, as well as integrated programs for Core Math 1, Math 2, and Math 3. This set of updates, it applies to advanced algebra and trigonometry, pre-calculus, bridge math, finite math, discrete math, statistics, and calculus. And these standards were revised to provide coherence with the updates to the other courses, to eliminate any places of redundancy and to ensure alignment of rigor. They have been reviewed by content experts from both within Tennessee and outside Tennessee, and input from both THEC and TBR and our core math coordinators.
Okay. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
A motion second? Got a second. Okay. Any questions, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Last one.
Let's, Emily, if we can,
Sure.
why don't we take items D through P as a block? We're all...
D is separate, Chairman, from E and beyond.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
My colleague
Right.
Danielle will pick up at
Okay.
that point. The final reading from the Curriculum and Instruction Division is about the world-class instructional design and assessment standards for preschool and pre-kindergarten. This board has approved on first and final read the WIDA standards. This is the final read for the set of standards that would apply for pre-K, so for English language learners who are in pre-K.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve? A motion second? Got a second?
Second.
Okay. Any question or discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily, appreciate that. Okay, now we're ready for the core standards. And Danielle, let's address E through P.
Certainly, Chair. So with the previous bundle of courses that you approved on final reading in January, this second bundle of courses also went through an open comment period between first reading and final reading. And so for each item, there's a cover sheet reflective of those core standards, and each cover sheet notes where some changes were made. Roughly 270 teachers during this open period responded, gave comments, feedback to these courses. So we think that the final reading version speaks well for what we need in the state of Tennessee.
I guess the changes all been redlined in the...
Yes. So where there's a red line with
drive that we
additions.
received with all these. Okay, any questions on any of these core standards? Okay, is there a motion to approve items E through P? Was there a question?
No, I was just going to make a comment that I thought
Okay.
that you've been very actively engaged in getting stakeholder input, and it's reflected in the new document.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. Okay, got a second? Second. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move to item Q, which is change of name and address rule here. Danielle?
This rule change requires a license holder to notify the Department of Educator Licensing when they change their name or address within 30 days.
Okay. Questions?
That is by law, correct?
It's by rule,
By rule.
yes, but it has no penalty attached to it. I mean, we're not going to go find people who don't do it.
This is a new rule.
Yes, well, there is a rule that requires them to notify the Office of Educator Licensing for a name change, but there's no time frame attached to it. So we are adding the time frame and also adding the change of address to that.
So how did we choose the time frame?
I had a conversation with the Attorney General's office about whether or not we should have that in our rule. So that's how, and most other agencies have that similar language of the 30-day window.
And I think the question is how we're going to keep teachers notified, basically, or keep them informed that they do need to do this. I guess that's the challenge here. It certainly see good reason for doing it. It's just a matter of people understanding that this needs to be done.
Yes, we do intend to try to get the word out through newsletters that the department issues, as well as brainstorm about other ways to make sure the educators know of their responsibility to notify.
Okay, questions? Any other questions, discussion? Okay, is there a motion to approve? Got a motion to approve, is there a second?
Okay.
Katie? Hey. Good. Okay.
Lynn's been trying to get her to do something.
Okay, any questions? Okay, this is a rule, requires a roll call. Phyllis?
Ms. Chancey? Aye. Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Terry? Aye. Mr. Roberts?
Aye.
Dr. Rogers? Aye. Mr. Ralston?
Aye.
Ms. Sloan?
Aye.
Ms. Mitchell? Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it, it's approved. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, David, teacher license advancement renewal.
Thank you, Chair and members. This is something you've had a lot of discussion about over the past several months, and you know that you approved a set of policies relative to teacher licensing, and then it was decided that we needed to back up from some of that. And the easiest way to be able to set the stage for any new set of policies would be to take out the language that and help set that stage. There's been a lot of discussion about this in the legislature over the last several days. We've had a lot of discussion in here. We are waiting diligently to see what the sort of final directive is from the General Assembly. Relative to that, we anticipate bringing something to you this summer, either at the regular meeting or at a special call meeting, in order to be prepared relative to this issue for the fall. I'll answer any questions you might have.
Okay, questions? I think here, just to be sure, what we're sending is the part that's lined out in the material that you have in your notebook. Some of the material that we approved back in August, I guess it was last year, remains. So just presenting that part that's been lined through. And I think realistically, when we find out exactly where the legislature is coming out, and we'll need to look at that remaining material, and obviously we're going to need to be coming back at future meetings and making sure it all fits together. Okay, any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion? Second? Got a second. Amen. Thank you. Any questions? Discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, Sarah, education license practice change policy.
Morning.
Morning.
This item is like others that I've brought before you at previous meetings, and it's regarding the requirement in Tennessee law that newly licensed teachers demonstrate content area knowledge through a licensure exam. And again, this is done to ensure entry-level competence in the content area. And like items in the past, as I explained yesterday also at the workshop, these tests come up periodically as ETS and other vendors are regenerating the content of these assessments. And so it's done on a rolling basis. And the tests that you have before you today are those that are up for regeneration and therefore new cut scores and approval by this board. As you look at the test and the accompanying cut scores, we discussed briefly yesterday at the workshop that at the urging of this board, we are now recommending cut scores that are at that national recommended cut based on the standard setting committee. So that is, again, a distinct departure from past policy where we set that in Tennessee about a standard deviation below the recommended cut. And as we've also discussed, we have plans over the next 10 years to work with you and to examine supply and demand data carefully in Tennessee to increase those cut scores additionally. But we want to make sure that we do that with a real eye towards supply-demand data across our state. So again, these tests that are before you, we recommend that the cut score be set at the national cut. As you look at the test and the accompanying cut scores compared to the current cut score, it's worth pointing out that as part of the regeneration, they also often change the scaling associated with these tests. So sometimes the score that we're recommending looks lower than it had been in the past, but that's simply a function of the scale changing. So I'm happy to take any questions if you have them.
Okay, Teresa?
I just have one question. Great work. Happy with, the direction we're headed. I know we're participating in this multi, state kind of assessment or whatever standard setting study. What other states were part of that process?
That's a great question. They have actually, through ETS, a representative setting committee. I don't know the actual states off the top of my head. I can find that information and send it to you. But it involves, I've got the notes here. It's various state experts, content experts. They also incorporate higher ed faculty. I mean, it's a representative panel. I think the membership actually changes over time, but they attempt to have it representative and to pull in various state perspectives.
Okay, other questions? I think this is an item this state board has been very interested in, and certainly something it's been wanting to do for a long period of time, and getting these cut scores where they need to be, I think is a real important step forward. I think we all know that teachers are the real answer to continuing the progress that we're making in K-12 education, and to make sure that they're well prepared is a terribly important part of that process. Okay, any questions? Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Okay. Katie, you want to second that? Okay. Any questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And Sarah, you've got the next one.
I do. This item has to do with the alternative salary schedules that 5 LEAs have proposed in their local districts. And these districts come to you as part of the differentiated pay plan policy that was revised last June that again states that in order to fulfill the policy requirements, one of the options for a local education agency would be to apply to this board for approval of an alternative salary schedule. And so the 5 LEAs that you have before you are opting to do just that. We expect to have several others coming before you in July. But the 5 LEAs who have presented salary schedules for your approval today are Fentress County, Gibson County Special School District, Kingston City Schools, Rutherford County Schools, and Wilson County Schools. And you have information in your packets about the performance elements across each of those district plans. They have already been approved by the local school boards in every instance. And each of them is attempting to reward effective and highly effective educators through overall evaluation scores. And essentially, either step increases and or bonuses will be given to these teachers, teachers scoring a 3, 4, or 5, but these districts have opted to not give increases to teachers scoring a 1 or a 2. So you have the details in your packets. I'm happy to answer questions. I won't go through all 5 of the plans specifically, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them after looking over the materials in your packet.
Okay, any questions? Questions on these pay plans? Yes, I am encouraged that we're getting systems interested in setting this schedule. I think it's going to be interesting. They're all not identical. They're taking different paths, but I think that's what we expected, and we expect to see systems basically do some work here to improve the salary schedule. So I think it's important work. You know, one thing, I guess, just a comment, I wish that we were reflecting performance mostly in bonuses instead of step increases. I think it's a better process. Some of them are doing it, in a number of cases they are doing it that way. But as we have a chance to influence other school systems, certainly be my preference that we work on the bonus part of it and always drive step increases.
I think in some instances, one attempt in the base pay is to increase kind of competitiveness on the front end, so having a starting salary that's competitive, but I appreciate your comments, and I think we're seeing a mix certainly of step increases and annual bonuses.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, is there a motion that we approve on final reading? Got a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Got a second? Okay. Any questions, discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Danielle, state attendance guidelines.
If you recall, last July, we had these on first reading, and the guidelines were to comply with what Tennessee Code requires us to do, which is establish attendance guidelines that are firm but fair, allow appeal procedures, and other things as stated in the law. After our first reading, there was quite a bit of concern about the language, and so we took a lot of time to talk with attendance supervisors. We talked to most recently folks in Joey Hassel's shop to make sure that we weren't being too prescriptive and allowing LEAs the option based upon the resources that they had to be able to implement these rules with fidelity. So at this point, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer an amendment to the language for discussion's purposes. And the way in it is, well, let me go through what it is. In the second paragraph, early assessments would be struck and replaced with the word supports. The sentence, the line right below that, predict, would be replaced with address. And then in paragraph number 1 on line 4, identify and would be struck. And the rationale for this is that the assessments, the early assessments, attaches rights that may not really be entitled to the student. Assessments mean a whole lot of different things in nomenclature in the law. And then secondly, I think it's hard, or the practitioners believe it to be hard to predict chronic absenteeism, but that can be addressed as they find them out. If a group of parents or a parent is taking a kid to Florida for 2 weeks, that doesn't necessarily merit working out the full assessment. So if we could, that's my rationale for this.
Okay, Mike, if you could, I'll turn to it, and if you could go through again the changes that you would make.
Okay.
We're on the amendment document, right?
Yes.
So, look, the second attendance.
Everybody got the
Second
minutes,
paragraph, right?
state attendance guidelines.
The local attendance policy, this is second paragraph. Local attendance policy should include remedies to address excessive absences that account for a student's social and emotional development and family support. Early intervention is a key aspect of a policy that effectively improves attendance. Efforts to improve attendance should include supports.
Okay.
Yeah, strike earliest assessments and replace it with support and interventions in elementary, middle, and high school levels to strike, predict, and insert address and prevent chronic absenteeism. The third change would be under number 1. The number of unexcused absences shall comply with TCA 496 through 3007 and appropriate responses to and consequences for unexcused absences shall be handled within the school setting using relevant supports and interventions that scratch, identify, and that address the underlying causes for the unexcused absence.
Okay. Everybody, any questions on what Mike's proposing? And Danielle, I think you've seen this.
Yes, and we are in agreement.
Okay, any questions on what Mike, the changes Mike's proposing here? Okay, is there a motion that we approve with the changes that Mike has indicated?
So moved.
Got a motion? Got a second? Any questions? Okay, this is a rule, so, Phyllis, you can call the roll, please.
Ms. Jenkins? Aye. Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Terry? Aye. Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Dr. Rogers? Aye. Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Ms. Swain?
Aye.
Ms. Mitchell? Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. This rule is approved. Mike, thank you for those changes. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll now move to, the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation.
Yes, we have individuals who are in default of their student loans pursuant to State Board Rule 0520-02-04 and TCA 495108D2 that requires us to take action against an educator's license if they do not pay their student loans. I would like to note that there are 5 individuals who, between the publication of the agenda and today, have come into compliance. Those individuals are Carol Atkinson, Kimberly Daniel, Kelly Holzer, Michael Martin, and Tony Olson. Those individuals have now come into compliance, so if you would make a note of that in your motion.
They were moved from the list. Okay, any questions on the proposed here? Okay, is there a motion we approve? Motion. Got a second? Second. Got a second. Okay, any questions, discussion? Okay, this also requires a roll call vote. Phyllis?
Ms. Jenkins? Aye. Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Terry? Aye. Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Dr. Rogers? Aye. Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Ms. Swain?
Aye.
Ms. Mitchell? Aye.
The ayes have it. Approved. We will now move to teacher license actions. And what I'd like to do is remove from all the A through L list here, remove item D. We'll handle it separately. Sarah Jo Frost will handle it separately. So any questions on the others? Might add that this is something that we expect the staff to go through and very carefully review these and make sure that the actions being proposed are consistent with what we have been doing and need to do in these action items. Any questions on items A through L except D? Okay, is there a motion that we approve the actions recommended? So moved. Got a second? Is there a second? Okay, got a motion and a second. Any questions? Okay, Phyllis, you can call the roll, please.
Ms. Jenkins? Aye. Mr. Edwards?
Aye.
Ms. Terry? Aye. Mr. Walker?
Aye.
Dr. Rogers? Aye. Mr. Lawson?
Aye.
Ms. Swain?
Aye.
Ms. Mitchell? Aye.
the motion is approved. Thank you. And we'll now move to item D, and any questions on item D? Okay, is there a motion we approve the recommendations on item D?
So moved.
Got a motion, second? Second. Got a second. Okay, any questions there? Phyllis, you can call the roll, please.
Ms. Chesney? Abstain. Ms. Draper?
Aye.
Ms. Pear? Aye. Mr. Roberts?
Aye.
Dr. Rogers?
Aye.
Mr. Ralston?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Mitchell? Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved, and need to, make sure it recorded out and abstained. Okay. That concludes our agenda. You know, for those in the audience, you certainly recognize that we moved through a lot of these things very quickly. You know, many of these things were handled in the workshop yesterday, where we obviously had a lot more discussion involved in that to get in preparation for today's meeting. Casey, we appreciate you being with us. We'll look forward to having you back sometime. Okay, any other items? We do have meetings planned for July the 25th and October 31st, the meeting for this year. I should note that, you know, we have made a change in the October meeting. I think that's been communicated to everybody, and hopefully that's on your calendar. So, July the 25th and October the 31st. Anything else? Okay. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.